house in New Orleans. They count the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. God, I know now.
I'm Bob Sullivan. I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii, and I've just recently retired from a major airline that's based here in Charlotte. And I'm just here with my good friend that I have just met, Fame and Glory. The airline brought me here probably over 32 years ago. I lived at Lake Norman for several years, and then I moved to the mountains. So I'm just outside of Boone, North Carolina, a little place called Valley Crucis. Do music there locally. In fact, I'll be there this Monday. For those of you that are in that area, come up to the Mass Store Annex, and we'll sing a song or two. When I was 8 years old, my parents forced me to take classical piano. And it's not that I did not like it, but it really wasn't for me. And then I said, well, what's that? Oh, that's a guitar. So in those days, you had to teach yourself. There was no internet where you went on and they had lessons and things like that. So the guitar led me into drums, led me into banjo, the violin. I played in different bands. I met Joe South, who, as many of you will know, won several awards for his songwriting ability and his lyrics. So we go back many years ago, Billy Joe Royal, Mac Davis, and those people down in South Georgia. But he influenced me to the point where in high school, the different bands that I was in, we actually opened up for, when Roy Orbison and the Candymen were in Atlanta, we opened up for them. And that was where my music career started. Vietnam changed some things. I knew that I couldn't play music and satisfy any kind of military commitment. So I decided, since my dad was a Delta pilot, that I would take flying lessons in high school. And that got me into the other career that I do, the other hat that I wear. So got all my ratings, married my high school sweetheart, went to college, and then went in the service and flew in the service for a number of years. And then when I got out, I got on with that same airline I'm talking about. It's based here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I think a lot of it, the battlefield, I'm a martial arts person. I tested for my black belt in Seoul, Korea in 1971. And I think a lot of the attitude, the Eastern philosophy, I'm a Christian, but I do think that there is a grain of truth that goes through all the denominations. And in that grain of truth, I think that we have more control over what we can do and what we can't do. And I believe that pretty much the sky's the limit. There really are no boundaries in what you want to do creatively. So for me personally, what I do is, whether it's a song to be written, or whether it's what do I want to do with my life, or can I limit myself to the number of hats that I wear? And the answer is no. It's obvious that there are several things that I do, and they're varied. There's no real common denominator between them. I mean, I fly airplanes. I'm still in the reserves in the military. I do music. Are these creative things? I think that they are, and I think that we're only limited by the desire that we have in our hearts to be all that we can be. Not to be cliche with that term that the Army's used, but it's true. So I think once you set your mind to something, I think that you can do anything. These different things I do, these different hats, for me, I get a lot of enjoyment out of them all. They're all like a fresh of breath air to me. I've never had a problem with, oh, well, gee, well, what about the sheriff's department? Or, what about being a chaplain? I find a need and I just fill it. And what that does is it fills up maybe some empty hole inside of me. I have to be careful. Sometimes I get my plate too full. But life has been fantastic for me. It's been a tremendous blessing, and I wouldn't have it any other way. One of my degrees that I have is in the arts, specifically art education, but I do like painting, I like sculpting. And this area, and I can't really put my finger on why it's that way, but this area is kind of like maybe a melting pot is a good word for it. The cultural diversity that's here is unbelievable. I've traveled all over the world. I've played music in Zurich and Oslo and Dublin, Ireland, and London, and Rome, Italy. I travel a lot, and I get to see a lot of not only European countries, but obviously since I'm Hawaiian, in the Orient also, Japan, China, Korea. Spent time in Korea, obviously. And we seem to have the best of all those worlds here. I don't think there's a nationality that's not represented in Charlotte. And when you have such a diversity, then you're going to have that percentage of the population that's creative, whether it's musically or whether it's in any other kind of art form, especially in the oils, in sculpting or whatever. So it's a great place to just kind of hang out and just enjoy the energy, good, positive energy here in Charlotte. There are times, yes, when I do, and it may not be necessarily creative as far as, I do like to write, I journal, and of course along with songwriting too. But what I will do is I'll put it all away, I'll take a deep breath, and I'll try and get outside of myself. And let me try to explain that. It's a technique that really is Oriental, it's Hindu, it's more of the Eastern philosophy of taking a moment and accepting what is and being in the now, being in this moment. And I think maybe if I say this to you, it will make more sense. The most important moment in my life is right now. There are no other moments. The past is gone. Future hasn't happened yet. So what I'm saying to you is that I'm reaching down inside of my very soul and laying it out to you and saying, this is it, this is where I am right now. And I think with creative blocks sometimes that people get bogged down or they don't step back to look at it and allow creativity to flow in, allow the energy of the universe, allow whatever particular denomination or whatever culture or whatever, there is a divine intelligence that's out there that we just need to get out of the way. Once we get out of the way, then here it comes. And I think that's where I go with it, and it works. It works for me. The acting side of it is relatively new for me. It's an instrument. All right, Rick? And that's a very, very good question because it comes up all the time. The process by how I play music, okay, vocally that's me, that's correct, but I'm playing an instrument, all right? The different schools of thought, and there's not that many of them, but the Stanislavski technique that I've gone through, there's a UNC program, a FAST program here that I've been going to for about 4 years now. What they're talking about and what needs to come away from this as far as the difference is that when I'm acting, I am the instrument. Am I playing myself? Well, yes and no. The thing is, I'm allowing myself to just be. And there's another good word there. The now word is a good word, and to just be is important. People think, and I thought this too, that acting was more about, well, get up there and act like Sam Elliott, or get up there and act like, in fact, the casting director's notes to me in audition that I sent in for Banshee, the Banshee Origins, which I did get the part of Washington, but in the notes he said, Bob, try and be more of a father figure, don't be so violent and so gruff, we're looking for a Sam Elliott type. Well, that immediately cues me in to put the Sam Elliott mask on, but the truth of it is that in acting, it is the instrument that you're allowing to be seen by the audience. And that is difficult. It's one thing to hide behind a mask and try and be a James Cagney or to try and be, Clark Gable or but to just be yourself in front of a camera like I'm doing now is probably the hardest thing you can do. You try to be somebody else. And that's not what they're looking for. That's not, and when I say they, I am talking about the audience. The audience, whether they're sitting at home or sitting in the theater whether it's a Shakespeare play, whether it's whatever it happens to be, whether it's an epic movie, it makes no difference. Be yourself. And that is the real blessing for me that's come from the acting part of one of my careers, is that I shouldn't be anybody else but me. Why? Why? You know, I want you to see me for who I am, whether the camera's on or the camera's off. So that I've taken over to my music. Monday, when I'll be on the stage there in the mountains and playing, I'll be real. I'll be real to these people. Yes, I'll play some other people's songs, I'll play my own songs, but I'm being myself. You know, I'm not trying to go somewhere or do something. I think that's a lot of what's happened in America today. There are people, maybe not so much the younger, all the generations have done this. They have tried to be somebody they're not. What's wrong with being you? Okay, I mean, that's what makes us a community. That's what makes the world consciousness go. That's what makes the universe. And hey, there's a lot of power in that. A lot of power in that. So there's the crossover between my music and the acting. There really is no line. I thought there was. It's an excellent, excellent question. There is no line in the sand there. It's one and the same. When I stand up in front of an audience with a guitar, or when I stand up in front of a camera, it's the same thing. I want me to come out in all my little idiosyncrasies, all my little, you know. Now, do I follow a script? Well, yes, you do. But you're actually into that script and not limited by the script, because you're going to take the script and make it your own, just like you'll take a song and make it your own. Obviously, the education is important, and I would say don't limit yourself. There have been a lot of people that I've met that have told me, they've said, you will never be an airline pilot. You will never be a musician. You will never be, you will never be, you will never be. Don't listen to them. You be whatever you want to be. The key is, whatever you do it 110%. If you're going to be a garbage man, be the best garbage man in Charlotte. There's nothing wrong with that career. I mean, think where we'd be if there were no garbage men. We'd be in a lot of trouble. So that's probably the biggest thing that I could say, coming from my heart to the people that are out there. There's a lot of bad influences that's in the world right now. There's a lot of bad things going on in the world right now. But the key is, for somebody that's starting out in a career, do what you feel called to do. Do what you feel led to do. You'll know it. Listen to that still small voice inside of you. That still small voice inside of you speaks volumes. Just recently, I was on a website and I'd seen a documentary about what the heart emits and how the heart has an intelligence of its own. And part of that was an electromagnetic energy that comes out from the heart that is measurable. And if you've ever wondered why a horse sometimes will spook because he knows you're afraid of him, well, how did that happen? Did the horse just know? Animals, they all communicate that way through this electromagnetic energy. They're still studying it right now. They're on the brink maybe of discovering more about it. But what our parents and their parents' parents said, listen to your heart, listen to your heart. Apparently there's some scientific basis for it. So do it, go for it. Take your dream and go.
I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? A band of angels coming after me. Swang low on sweet chariot. Thomas will carry me home. My mother, she was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambler. Now he knew all. May the circle made beyond broken law. In the sky, Lord, in the sky, may the circle made beyond broken law Bye, Lord, bye, bye.